Abiding fam, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you are new. I'm so excited to be sharing a video with you that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and that is my new bullet journal setup video. But first I wanted to make this bulletproof coffee while I got down to work, and how fitting that it was a bulletproof coffee, bullet journal. You just gotta love when it all ties together. So what this video is all about is me setting up my new bullet journal. If you are familiar with my channel and have been here for a while, then you know that I originally bullet journaled in a ring-bound binder. Now, while I'm very happy with the transition into a bound notebook, there are definitely things I'm going to miss about the ring-bound system, especially the fact that you're able to take out pages when you don't like them or when they're no longer applicable to your life, and the fact that you can move around pages so you can keep collections together. All of those things just really worked for me, but I ultimately was looking forward to just the feel of a bound notebook, the portability of a bound notebook. I think it looks a lot better for images and that sort of thing, which I know that's not the point of having a bullet journal, but when you have a YouTube channel and Instagram, it does kind of factor in. So anyways, for this journal, I really wanted to have a pretty yet simple cover page for the year, so I just used my favorite stencil to do the 2018, and then as you saw throughout all of my previous talking, I created a pretty little floral wreath using my Tombow markers. So I was really happy with the way that cover page turned out, and then I was ready to move into some actual migration from my previous bullet journal. So if you're not familiar with bullet journal lingo yet, migration means that you're taking materials from your previous bullet journal and you're moving them into your new bullet journal. Now, usually this means that you are copying exactly what you did in the previous journal with pen and just doing it all over again exactly as you had done it before. But to save me time, and since all of those pages were pages on their own anyhow, I decided to just take them out, cut off the holes, and then trim them down to fit into this journal. So I went ahead and took my year in pixels and cut that out, and then I didn't really like the old version of explaining what each of the different colors represents. So I went ahead and just did these brand new on the actual journal page. So really the only thing that I migrated entirely in terms of cutting it out and pasting it in was the grid, since that has all of the days that have already passed in it, and I didn't want to lose those. So the next page I wanted to migrate over was my favorite books of 2018, and if you watched my 2018 setup video, then you know that my book spreads were some of my favorites from my bullet journal, and so I definitely didn't want to lose those elements, but I kind of wanted to switch it up in this new journal. So what I did is I cut out this bookcase that I had watercolored in my old bullet journal, and then had this adorable little chair with the dog by it from this really neat die cut collection that I bought. And so I just taped that on there and then did 1 through 5 for my top 5 books of 2018. And it just created a really neat page that, while having the same elements as my old favorites page from the previous bullet journal, still felt brand new. So here are those 2 finished pages, and I was so happy with the way they turned out, and I really think you can't even tell that I migrated them over from a previous bullet journal. So then this page is another book-related entry, and this is where I'm having all of the books that I have read in 2018, not just my favorites, but every single one I've read. Now for this book page, I didn't want to recreate it exactly as I had it in the old bullet journal, but once again just to move over some of the elements that had appeared in my previous journal And one of my favorite elements that I had used was these little cutouts that you get in the Flow book for paper lovers. And if you're familiar with that, it is an amazing book just full of awesome things that any paper lover would love to have. And so I used all of the little elements that you see there, the little pop-up scene of the chair with the window and the cat from that book. And then I decided to draw in a bookcase so that the scene kind of flowed together. It basically looks like a living room or a reading nook with the chair and the bookcase and the cat in the windowsill, and just ties together really nicely. So once again, I'm just using my Tombows to color in the books that I put on the shelf, and you can see I left a lot of room on the shelf and didn't totally fill it with books, and that's because I wanted to then go in and have each of those shelves be where I write a number or a statistic for this year. So I have the number of books I've read this year, and then how many of those books were fiction versus nonfiction. And it's pretty typical for me to move things around and play around with elements before I'm really happy with where they are, as you can see that I'm doing with this chair. And I also went ahead and extended the floorboards to meet the bookcase as well, so that that whole scene seemed really cohesive and like it was all meant to be together from the start. So next I went in with this gorgeous washi tape from Recollections that has this really neat pastel books across it, and I put that in lines, creating little mini shelves. And then here's where the really fun part comes in. I printed out little miniature books of all of the books I've read so far this year, and of course I'll add to this as I continue to read books throughout the rest of 2018. Now, to create these books in this size, what I did is I got photos of the books from Goodreads, and then I put them into the app Pic Collage and put them in a 4x4 grid so that I had 16 photos to one 4x6 photo, and printed them out and then just cut them out and stuck them on here, and there you go, a perfect little miniature bookcase of all of the books you've read in the year. I love the way that turned out so much. So the next entry I wanted to create was my writing log. If you're not familiar, I am an author as well as a YouTuber and all of the other things I do. So I've written 2 young adult novels called If I Fall and If I Resist, and I do have them linked down below, so you can go ahead and check them out there. But I'm currently working on the 3rd book, so I have really needed a writing log to just keep track of all of my progress, or my lack thereof, and thus be motivated to make more progress. So for this page, rather than taking what already existed in my previous journal, I decided to just totally recreate it from scratch. And so that's what I'm doing here. I used these really cute little pencils from the American Craft sticker book that I have. I have multiple American Craft sticker books, but that one specifically was the Paige Evans sticker book. And then I just created these little grids that will each have its own little section, such as what time I started writing, what time I stopped writing, and how many words were written in that session. Now, obviously, this spread is only going to apply to you if you are also a writer, but I think you could use a very similar style of a spread for other things that you're trying to accomplish. Any task or goal that you may have that requires multiple steps or a progression or building of something over time that you can track, I think is really worth doing just to have that within your bullet journal. It keeps you focused and it just gives you a really nice visual representation of the progress you've made thus far and motivates you to just keep going. So I went back to that sticker book for some motivational stickers related to writing and got these really cute little glasses. and then kept searching, which I'm sorry, 90% of my videos is me looking through sticker books, so I do apologize for that. But I ultimately settled on the glasses and this cute little teacup because I always like to write with a hot beverage in hand. Then I did some hand lettering with my Tombos and then my Furamusuki pen. And then I wrote in my favorite motivational quote for writing, which is, "I'm writing a first draft and reminding myself that I'm simply shoveling sand into a box so that later I can build castles." And there we have it, my little writing log in my bullet journal. So the next pages I wanted to migrate over were my ideal weekly schedule that I had created, and then also my Instagram tracker. And I ultimately decided that I didn't want to keep the YouTube tracker. I wasn't really using it anyhow. And so I decided to just forget that it existed and tape it down so that I kept my Instagram tracker. And of course, I didn't put it down the way I wanted to, so I had to try and peel it back up. And then we finally got that flush. And so sometimes if there's a page you don't want to keep, if you're moving it over into your new bullet journal, you could always just cut it out and then tape down the side you don't want to keep so that the side you are keeping still shows. But in the case of this page, I wanted to keep both sides, so I used washi tape to washi it into my journal. So then this next one was really easy to migrate over. I literally just moved the pieces over because they were washi down, and that was for my video ideas for YouTube. And then this next page I wanted to create was a movies we watched this year. And of course that little sticker had a million tiny little dots in it that I had to take out, so that was quite the adventure. But yeah, this page I kept really simple because I had these movie stickers that were just very appropriate for a movies we watched this year in theaters page. So I went ahead and just used those stickers with a little bit of hand lettering, and then we will go ahead and tape down any of the movie stubs that we get this year. Now this happens to be a nice movie stub, but nowadays the movie stubs we've been getting have been just little receipts, and it is very disappointing for us memory keepers. Let me know in the comments if you have the same problem with your movie theater where you're just getting receipts that you know aren't going to last from the movies instead of a real ticket. Alright guys, so that is my bullet journal setup for the rest of 2018 and my new bullet journal. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some ideas from the various spreads I created and learned a little bit about how to migrate into a new journal. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And a huge shout out to my patrons for making this video possible. I love you all so much. And be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. Thanks so much. Bye.